It's nice to have you join us yet on another great episode of Enterprise Morning right here from our headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. This is Enterprise Television. I am Henry Igwebike.
And I'm Choma Okohe.
Right in a bit, we'll be going to our newspaper headlines to see all that we have for you this morning. And right after that will be our main conversation also for today. So while we get everything all sorted out for you, please do well to visit us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7 and log on to our website for more information on enterprisetvnews.com. With us today in the studios to do justice to all that we have for you this morning, Cyril Abaku, a journalist and public affairs analyst, and barrister Evan Sofeli, a barrister at law and also public affairs analyst. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
And welcome to Enterprise Morning today. So let's kick off all that we have today, of course, with our Force Daily. What do we have, Chuma?
Yeah, I'll be starting with the Daily Trust newspaper. And the big story here, Tinubu orders crackdown on protesters waving Russian flag. And we have about 3 riders to that particular story. It's treason, defense chief warns. We have no hand in Nigerian protests coming from Russia. Police arrests producers of flags in Kano, Nasarawa. And lastly, demonstrators defy curfew in Plateau, Kano, dance naked in Osun State. And moving on from that story into another, military takes over as Bangladesh PM flees country. Details are on page 8.
All right, so let's take a look at the issue happening, the protest and everything that's going on in Bangladesh. And we have it from from authority here that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and fled the country on Monday after hundreds of people were killed in a crackdown on demonstration that began as protest against job quotas and swelled into a movement demanding her ouster, and jubilant crowd stormed unopposed into the opulent grounds of the presidential residence, carrying out looted furniture and television sets. Gentlemen, it's a time of protest. We don't know. Is this a new form of the revolution? Because it's happening all over. It started in Kenya, went to Uganda, Bangladesh, Nigeria. It's going on and on. Are we seeing something new in our universe, if I want to use that?
There's general dissatisfaction, especially in third world countries. Bangladesh is a third world country, okay, and they have a prime minister who has been in office. She's 72.
Yeah.
Okay, she has been in office in 2009. This is her 4th term. Okay, and the people are not necessarily happy with her style because they introduced a job quota system for civil servants, or for the civil service, where they reserve a huge chunk of the juicy part of those jobs for certain people. It has to do with class struggle. It has to do with man no man. And the general public detest that kind of system. And so they rose to protests. And while the protest was ongoing, by the way, over 300 persons are dead already.
Yeah.
I have, so that the Nigerian protesters will take note that this one that 2-3 persons will die and they say they are not protesting again. This one, over 300 persons have died already. The protesters are still pushing forth up until the point where the prime minister had to run away. And the daughter in America, tweeted that because the army now went to, make announcements as to calming down the people and all that. She's tweeting saying that the security forces should ensure that the army or any other undemocratic, someone that is not voted into office should not be in that seat for 1 day. Okay? And the people are still advancing and pushing, calling for her resignation and all that. So it's not different from what is happening in Nigeria in terms of the protests. Theirs may not specifically be hunger, but it's a need. Okay? It's deprivation, which is also, you can also by extension, tie it to hunger. Okay, they do not want a situation where certain persons will be given undue privilege over others, and that is what the whole thing is about. The Nigerian's case doubles that, because you cannot wake up one morning now and say you want to go and apply to work in NNPC in Nigeria, or you want to go and apply to work in the CBN. You know, why not? That's the question. Because these jobs are reserved for certain persons. But here, we have never one day protested over that. So in the Nigerian case, we had enough situations we would have protested against before now. But we don't protest in order until it gets to a point where our survival is threatened. Because the reason for this protest is that our survival is threatened. Cost of living and all that. So the people have now descended on the street to do the needful. But I hope Nigerians are learning some kind of lesson with the Bangladesh story, that not only there is seat-tightism. When she won the last election, there was no opposition, no reasonable opposition.
Yeah, the opposition actually withdrew, totally.
Withdrew, yeah, you understand. So the story is one that is not different from what is happening in Africa. So if you trace, apart from the UK, where they have protests that has to do with immigration, migration and all that, which is not necessarily a survivor protest.
But it's an issue. It's a burning issue.
Yeah, it's a burning issue because, you know, an immigrant had stabbed some people. Some of them died and all that. And the natives are now revolting, okay? Which has nothing to do with really the fact that somebody's hungry or not hungry or not that. But I'm saying in third world countries, if you look at the reason for protests, they are usually tied to survival. And they're largely also tied to mismanagement, maladministration, corruption, government's incapability to manage their citizens. That's largely so.
All right. Cyril Abaku, I would love you to maybe give us some historical facts, if you can. Democracy, like it was explained, defined, and given to the world, is no longer looking like the democracy that people expect. Bangladesh, for example, they practice the de jure representatives, right? Which is, of course, different from de facto and all. And I want you to maybe give us some political or historical explanation to what exactly do you think should be the best solution for government? Because democracy is no longer operate. It's a democracy, but it's simply not working.
So if you look at, I mean, social ferment always has its origin from somewhere. 2 years ago, we had a similar uprising in nearby Sri Lanka that led to the resignation and fleeing of Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who was the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. The protesters entered the presidential palace and drove him out. He fled. We are seeing the same thing happen in Bangladesh. If you look at these Asian countries, from India and neighbors, India and Pakistan, Bangladesh, which broke out of Pakistan, which India basically helped to break out from Pakistan, and they are a largely people-based societies, not so much as government-based. They're largely people-based. This is why you will very easily have, and when I mean people-based, they're not necessarily nationally even based. There are a lot of minor bifurcated ethnic nationality. It is the reason, for example, Myanmar cannot really be a country on its own. There is no single. Myanmar has a serious identity crisis, okay, or Burma. There are too many tribes that don't even see that are probably not even aware that they are all part of Myanmar.
So no cohesion.
Yes. So the people of Bangladesh now they've come to speak, and it is the same crisis that Barrister was referring to. This problem of trying to create a privileged class, an entitled class. If you even hear the rhetoric of Hasina, she was never sounding conciliatory. She was never sounding like she owed the people anything. She sounded like Bangladesh was her property. I mean, because I think her father, there's history going back in maybe Indira Gandhi of India. But it has all now busted open that in a democracy or in any society, power ultimately lies with the people. And this was largely a student-led protest. I think that one of the things that has given the sort of motivation we're seeing in Kenya, in Nigeria now, and even in Sri Lanka, and then now Bangladesh is that in the past, people, you know, the third world is full of suffering of the masses. In the past, Bangladesh, Nigeria suffered a great deal. People are using sawdust to cook. Okay? But today, when you see that technology is playing a very, very key role. How do I mean? When the sufferer in Kano sees the sufferer in Lagos, is this the reality? So we are all the same and we have numbers. It gives them the inspiration and the motivation to believe that they can all be united by a common thing. Nigeria is one country where people believe that it is difficult for people to come together and fight government. But hunger can unite us. What religion cannot do, what tribe cannot do, hunger can. So in Bangladesh, they've seen that if they say that they will swim or they will sink, you come out of school on government scholarship, you don't have a job to do. Okay, people are going to go jobless for a long. When you're jobless, you can't feed. And when you can't feed, it means life. I mean, we'll soon lose meaning. 400 protesters on Monday tore through barbed wire barricades to the Prime Minister's house. The barbed wire was not always there. Soldiers put barbed wire to prevent it. But 400,000 of them came together and pushed. It means they didn't care anymore. If we bleed, we bleed. The soldiers are, in fact, in Bangladesh, they also sponsor anti-protest protesters in Bangladesh.
Those ones ran away.
They came with knives and they pushed them away.
So which means it's almost very similar to what we're observing in Nigeria.
What we're seeing in Nigeria is very simple, right? To the extent that people have been deprived for a long time. The NNPC, Barrister was referring to, the NNPC had a job test one time, some years ago. The person that came out first was not employed. Nigerian NNPC was not employed. You know what I mean? So we have enjoyed this thing for a long time. And now people are coming out to protest. I mean, in my view, it won't be 10 days of age. Whether the protests have momentum or not, after the 10 days, believe me that you'll have pockets of, because we've not addressed the issues, right? From time to time, there will be bubbles here and there. And that for me should be, because it may lead to the situation we had in Romania, where people came out unannounced, unplanned, unscripted, and just took the government out. So we should be careful. I think that is the real thing that we should be careful about.
Thank you, Sir Labako. Now, Barrister Ofeli, looking at Bangladesh and relating it to Nigeria, it's as though Bangladesh have actually made, they could record a successful protest. But in Nigeria, this is like the 4th or the 5th day of the protest since August 1st. Can we relate it and say, okay, Nigerians are united to actually pull the stunt Bangladesh pulled to actually push the Prime Minister to flee?
We're getting there. Did you see the protest yesterday? We're getting there. It's a momentum. You see, the more the people discover that what unites them is suffering and hardship and hunger, the more they're empowered to do more. Yesterday in Abuja, maybe because you are looking at Lagos, the protest was very hot in Abuja yesterday, okay? And Jos, those two places have the highest. In fact, in Jos, someone came out and spoke. He spoke in Hausa, unschooled, unlettered, at the protest ground. See, this is the first time he's coming for a protest. Now, he has discovered that in this protest ground, when they were praying, the Muslims were praying, the Christians surrounded them and watched over them. And now that the Christians are praying, he as a Muslim and his colleagues, he held orders, will stay here and watch over them. That no imam can tell him that he's guiding an infidel. That no Quran can tell him. In literature, we call this epiphany. Epiphany caused by what? Situation. He just got a revelation of what humanity is. And he's speaking in Hausa, saying that he will continue to come out to protest. He has discovered that those who are protesting with him, they are one. Whether they are Muslims, whether they are Christian, whatever they see, they will eat. If they don't see food, they will keep protesting. You know what that is? The person saying this is unschooled. That is what protest can do, because protest will break you away from those who you've learned from all the while Your imam that keep telling you that this person is the enemy. This one is a friend. Situation are broken down now. You are learning new lessons. It's like you are getting, yes.
Yeah.
So no kind of education Nigeria could have organized that will give that guy that perspective or that objective. Okay? So let's continue the protest. We're going to get there. Our protest does not necessarily need to be like that of Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or any other place where you have protests. Ours will be unique and serve its own purpose. Okay? And what is important is that the protesters will keep at it, because the president came out and made a speech that inflamed the souls of men. Since he has refused to address the issue under reference, and the people also will not back out. They will continue to push forth. They are threatening now with DSS and the military and all that. It will get to a point. You see, the NSAS protests, the military came and dispersed people. You understand? It was the first time the military will come and shoot at people directly. So the people are not used to it. It's not something they should withstand. They should pull out. Okay? But gradually, it will get to a point where the military, if they continue that way, they will lose their relevance. And it will no longer matter whether they are shooting or not. You understand? Did you see what happened in Kano? Just Kano, where they said there's curfew. They came out. Do you know that in Kano, they pursued the police to a point where they conquered the police and took their armored truck and started driving it? You know, you didn't see all that?
I saw the video.
They were driving the police van, that armored van, the type you see in the Ikeja under bridge. They were driving it round about the protesters, using it to protest. It tells you that they've conquered the police. If the army bring their own fire, whatever it is, to, it's just a matter of time. They will push the army aside very soon. Power belongs to the people, through which government derive a legitimacy. So once the people are not happy about the government, then a legitimacy question has been raised.
Seriously.
And if that question is not answered, that government cannot succeed.
All right.
The president had an opportunity to address the issue, to, reconsider the issues before him and make concession. He has failed to do so. We're heading somewhere.
All right. So let's move on to our next daily, and it's coming from the Guardian newspaper. And the big story here says federal government prioritizes NAS State House pending amid MDA's funding crisis.
Okay, moving on. Reps dissolve panel probing allegations of dirty field, blame negative media coverage.
And also we have military vows crack down over treasonous use of Russian flags at protests.
Okay, moving on. Protesters defy Tinubu's plea. Continue demonstrations in Rivers State.
And just below that particular story, we have U.S. may become largest crude supplier to Nigerian refineries years after it stopped buying. Barrister Vansofele, let's take a look at this. You have more than enough experience in the oil and gas sector, and would love to ask: the United States of America gets more of its fuel through fracking, that it does, and of course it's becoming the largest supplier of crude to different parts of the world. But it seemed like an irony. There used to be a time when the United States was buying lots of its crude from Nigeria. Now is the reverse of the case. What implication does this have for a country like ours?
First of all, let's identify the historical background. Oil was first discovered ever in the world in America. First place oil was discovered is the US. Now, they were buying our crude at some point because the nature of our crude is different from theirs. Ours is what they call a sweet crude. You refine, you use. When you go to the northern part of Africa, North Africa, and then you go to parts of the Middle East, they have crude where you refine, you have sulfur. You have to extract sulfur. That is, the refining process is like double hours, because after you get the PMS, you do extraction of sulfur before you can use. But ours is direct, so ours is attractive because it reduces what you call a work time. Okay. Labor and production time, you cut down on that. Now, definitely America has always been, not that America is now the largest supplier. America has always been the one of the top, the highest, if you check OPEC history and all that. Okay. But now that there's crisis around the world, because if you look at the world generally, the Middle East, there's crisis. It's only America that there's peace all over the world. America and UK. When you check G7, I mean, in Russia, you have issues. Except for France, which
Germany.
theirs is not even reliable because they're having problems with their colonies. Okay? But when you look at America and the UK, those are the two countries from the G7 that have reasonable peace and economic stability. You understand? And then maybe the Chinese and some other part of Asia. But all over the world, there's crisis. Okay? So the tendency that you will have much economic yield in peaceful areas is given. Okay? And for the fact that they have capacity also, and they have a serious government, where over the years they've laid foundation for economic development. They have a huge span of land. They practice a kind of a federalism that is proper in its sense. Every state has its own constitution. Every state has its own Supreme Court. Every state contributes to the center. I mean, when you look at the Bill of Rights, when you look at the American Constitution, the 12th Amendment, you see how it talks about the fact that whatever situation, okay, that a man is subjected to in Texas must be the same situation should be subjected to when he finds himself in Minnesota or Georgia or anywhere. So they have a law that is people-driven, people-centered. Their government is people-driven, is people-centered. If you look at their manifesto and their campaign, it's about what the people are saying. And usually it's about, when we talk about cost of living, they will tell you that if milk adds by 5 cents, you know, the mayor of that must come and explain to the people why it's like that. Okay, or why not? Okay, someone was saying here yesterday that the car he bought $5,000. Is it the same amount? Okay, the car I bought $4,500 in the US. Okay, when I went back to the US, I went to auction. It's the same price. It's the same price. But that $4,500, as I time I bought it in Nigeria today, it's almost doubled
what it is,
the value of what it was then and what it is now. So they have a stable economy, so they have every sense to grow. But here, the economy is not driven in a way that will favor all. It's driven in a way to just favor specific persons, and that is the economic injustice we are talking about.
Yes, you talked about just before we went live. You were talking about Obasanjo. You're talking about what exactly?
I was talking about why those that are the mafias in the oil sector would continuously frustrate Dangote refinery because they still have a lot to milk from from the money they're already making from the oil well, and Dangote refinery coming in would actually stand as a stumbling block for them. And I think that is one reason why when you go through the records of countries that have refineries, Nigeria is still counted to have 0 refinery.
Yes, so speak us to us. speak to us.
No, so there's even an article I saw was yesterday about the cost of oil in Nigeria. Where it should be a blessing, it has become some sort of cost because it doesn't reflect that we are an oil producing country. It was in this same country, if one head of state said, our problem is not money, but how to spend it. And today now, I don't know if it's still money or how to spend it, but clearly we've not been the best managers of our resources. Frankly speaking, all the oil producing countries have had to deal with the problem of abandoning agriculture. Russia did the same thing. At the time when their economy, when the oil boom took place in Russia too, they sort of neglected agriculture, but they later went back to it. I think that our own problem has been largely the fact that there's something that oil has done to us or that we have done to oil. That the sector has now come to favor only a very privileged few, okay, at the expense of the poor. And so the Dangote refinery saga just sort of brought it to the open again for us to see they talk about Malta was only the later that we got to know. And even that we got to know because somebody thought, let me review this little just to get what I want. Otherwise, there's a whole lot. You recall when former lawmaker did an investigation that went as far as America, he went to the Congress, he got documents. Nigeria's oil, globally speaking, right? They know people it's like our gold. In Dubai, there's a place where they sell Nigerian gold. I don't think it's not acquired officially, but there's a market for Nigerian gold globally. And people know how to get that in there. So it's the same thing is with our oil as well. A lot of it is opaque. I said it before. If you are losing 90% of the oil that you produce to theft, that's not oil theft anymore. It is something else. It is the government itself that is the mastermind and the perpetrator of this humongous corruption that is seen. So they can't make any pretense about it. I have said it. Mr. President has it in his power to know what he can do it to bring oil back to another planet. He can do it if he wanted to.
But do you think he's got the?
Well, if he does not want this another thing, can he? Yes, he can. But does he want to do it? That's an entirely different question.
Well, in a portion where he's a player in the oil field.
Exactly.
That is the problem. Yeah. So the matter is like saying that things are so enmeshed and so badly all mingled together that even the government will have to give way if the sector is going to move forward. Yes, that's.
But do you ever see the government giving way?
It's an impossibility, but that's the only solution.
But do you believe in
that he will have to step aside?
But that's not to me.
And then we call for proper independent investigation into who has taken what out of where.
But it is the government that would even call the proper investigative team.
You see, the foundation of the matter is this. No, that's why I said they will have to step aside. But the foundation of the matter is this: how much does Nigeria drill per day? Nobody knows those figures.
When you say step aside, are you calling for intervention?
No. What I mean is he will have to, like it happened in Bangladesh. Okay, I'm stepping out of office so that there can be a clean
slate.
Yes.
Who is going to appoint the?
No. So for example, if he did that today, right, on the grounds that the vice, whatever it is, there's a vice president who will take over. Okay, or by law, if the two of them, the Senate president for 6 months will take over. But they have no hold on.
Now all of this
is complicated.
We are looking at these scenarios, right? But the point of the matter is he cannot sit in his own judgment. That's all.
Exactly.
Okay.
And of course, for all of this to happen, it means that the sort of protest that just we observed in Bangladesh would happen here. If President Bola Ahmed Tinubu would put pen to paper and say,
but I can't make it.
I'm no longer doing it.
He called it intervention quietly. I can't make a case for that. But the point is that so this is it. It can't be Tinubu's government. Okay. It can be, and yes, but there has to be a thorough. And this is oil politics is very deadly. It's Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran. Oil is involved. Israel is not oil. This thing they call black crude. It's a dangerous thing to trade this part. So anybody who wants to take on these behemoths has to understand what the person is up against.
Very, very well. To say oil is rules the world, and this is at a time when we're thinking green. Would we ever achieve green energy in Nigeria, where oil is still the number one thing? Yeah. That's another question.
I want to say thank you, Barrister Philip, for joining us. And thank you, Sir Bako.
Thank you.
And we're moving on. When we return, Kaduna State government enforces 24-hour curfew due to ongoing protests. Details in a bit. Don't go anywhere.